Hi, it's Crystal here, Nature Inspired Relationship Coach. And I want to talk to you today about something really, really important. To think and consider in your relationship whether you've ever let things get to a point where you feel like things just become too much, where it almost feels like you get caught up in drama or shock, or something happens in your relationship where you feel that you've reached crisis point with your partner, and that it's really difficult for you to manage, and it feels like it's too much for you to manage on your own. And have you ever got to that point and felt like it's come from nowhere? You know, that you haven't seen it coming, or you are just left reeling from it. And the reason I ask that is because quite often when couples come and see me for couples therapy, they've let the relationship get to that point. So they've come to crisis point, and it's sometimes a shock to at least one of the partners because they haven't expected it. So they haven't expected that their partner's now starting to be honest with them about things that they hadn't any idea about up until that point. Or, you know, and that might just be that one of the partners isn't happy about something in the relationship to the point where they're serious, that they want to do something about it. And it even sometimes gets to the point where one of the partners, at least, is actually doubting the future of the relationship. And quite often, you know, to the partner that hasn't been prepared for that, it can feel like a real shock, like they just didn't see it coming, or they just didn't think things were that bad. And in nature, it's very similar to a tsunami, actually, because a tsunami, being a huge, huge wave, can actually strike as if from nowhere. They seem to come from nowhere. And the effects of a tsunami are absolutely devastating. And so I really feel like, you know, in terms of what happens with the couples who come and see me, when they get to that point in their relationship, you know, it can feel like whatever's happened in their relationship at that point, whatever drama they're caught up in, can feel as devastating as a tsunami. But the truth is that these things never come from nowhere. So even if you feel like you haven't seen it coming, you haven't been aware that your partner's been so dissatisfied, or for you, if you've even got to the point where you've let things build up and up and up inside you, and then you have an emotional crisis where you feel like you're seriously doubting the relationship, or you're really struggling with certain aspects of the relationship, and you haven't seen where that's come from, and it's caught you by surprise. These things don't come from nowhere. They do seem to build up over time. Now, that's obviously with the exception of certain things like affairs, or something that seems to happen suddenly that you couldn't have been prepared for. But even in those situations, you know, quite often they come, you know, these dramatic things come from a place of there being often some dissatisfaction in the relationship that's early on. So it's trying to understand what happened, what led you to the place in your relationship where you are now, and starting to unpick that. And just like a tsunami, you know, tsunamis don't in reality come from nowhere. I mean, we don't feel that we're prepared for them because they do feel that they've come from nowhere. But the reality is there's an earthquake somewhere, or a volcanic eruption that causes a ripple effect in the sea. And of course the sea is so vast and big that you know, the waves don't look particularly big when they first have that ripple effect. They just don't seem that large, you know, in proportion to everything else around. But what happens is these waves, they can be travelling at about 500 miles an hour, so they can really start to build momentum. By the time they actually start to hit the shore, there's a bigger wave, and then it's followed by this tsunami, which we feel like has come from nowhere, but actually there's been this build-up, or this undercurrent, that we haven't been able to see. But when you think about nature, animals are so in tune with nature that they can predict a tsunami. So you'll notice just before a tsunami that animals will start to reach higher ground, because you can't outrun a tsunami, and they know that, so they start to go to a higher point so that they can actually be unaffected by the tsunami when it hits. Now, I'm not saying that we should be able to detect tsunamis in the same way as human beings, but if you apply that kind of logic to your relationship, it's thinking about how you might start to be more in tune to your relationship, that you can foresee issues from happening and things from erupting and hitting you with this devastating wave. So ask yourself honestly, if you are experiencing real difficulties in your relationship at the moment and you feel like you're subject to a tsunami hit, have you been ignoring signs in your relationship that things haven't been quite right? Have you been ignoring your own instinctive feelings about your relationship? Things haven't been quite right for you, and you've kind of been burying or suppressing those feelings, or not wanting to face them and burying your head in the sand. So Do you feel like it's possible that you've not been listening to your partner? So maybe your partner's been trying to say to you that they're not happy with things, or hinting at you they're not happy with things, but you haven't really been taking it seriously or thought that it actually is having a significant impact on them and the relationship. Perhaps you just assume that everything will be okay in time. And the reality is that these things, they can build up over months, weeks or months, even 5, 10, 20 years. So I will see couples that have been married for 20 years that have had resentments and issues building up in the relationship, and it reaches a crisis point. But whatever happens, if you are building up resentments, or you're not really communicating with your partner honestly about how you feel, or you feel like your partner's not listening to you, or you're not listening to your partner, if you don't address those issues in an ongoing way, eventually that tsunami wave will hit, and when it does, it will be a huge wake-up call for you, because you'll end up in crisis, and it's so much more difficult for you to resolve issues when you get to that point. Now, it is possible, but it's much better to prevent that from happening in the first place. And the way that you do that is to be more in tune with your relationship, just as nature's in tune with natural disasters and in tune with itself. It's tuning into your partner every day and paying attention to what's going on, and being honest with yourself about your own feelings and your own instincts and the things that maybe you're not sharing with your partner. So it's about taking responsibility too for how you're feeling, and whether or not you're really letting your partner know how things are going for you, rather than just expecting them to assume that, rather than just assuming that they're really going to understand what's going on for you. You have to spell things out sometimes. It has to be clear communication. So I really want you to take nature's advice on this and really tune in and really be intuitive in your relationship, or at least start to learn to be, because I really don't want you to get to a crisis point in your relationship where you feel that you can't manage what's going on, and that things and emotions are so turbulent that you're feeling that you can't really see an effective way out. I want you to pay attention to each other every day, so that I want you to be able to reach that higher ground and actually have this panoramic view of your relationship and anticipate issues before they become big issues, so that you can actually deal with the small issues as you go along, to stop resentments from building up, so that you can be open and honest with your partner, have an authentic connection, and actually be able to really pay attention to each other. That's really what it comes down to, and I can't emphasize that strongly enough. Pay attention to each other every day. And some of the best work I do with couples isn't with the couples that come to me with a crisis. Actually, I've helped couples really effectively navigate through a crisis and actually resolve huge relationship issues. But some of the most effective work, and the easiest work for myself and the couple, is those couples who come to me before they've got to the point where a tsunami's hit their relationship. So they're the couples who are working with me in an ongoing way to maintain their relationship, so that they are still having an exciting relationship, that they're going on a journey together where they're learning new things about each other, they're open to change, they're open to going on an adventure together, and that things change in a relationship and they can grow as individuals and as a couple, but that also they can anticipate issues before they become big, and that they can actually communicate in an open and honest way, so that they can prevent things from really building up and escalating. And that's through effective communication. It's through just finding ways of bonding together, of spending intimate time together, going out and spending quality time in nature together, and actually really asking each other how they feel, and really learning to empathize with each other, and really getting to know each other in a much deeper way. So that rather than feeling like they're firefighting or going from one crisis to another, or simply just trying to manage conflict, that actually these couples, the most they get from it is that they actually can enjoy the relationship, and they feel confident about their relationship, and they feel that they become much closer as a result. So I am sooner to release a brand new way that you can work with me in just this way. So it's a way of making sure you and your partner pay attention to each other every single day, where you feel like you are empowered to have the relationship that you want to have, because you feel that you're able to give your partner the attention that your partner deserves, and that they're giving you the attention that you deserve. You have this mutual respect and understanding. You can go on this journey together, this lifelong journey that you take together into the wilderness, able reasonably to foresee any changes in the weather, changes in the terrain, that you feel equipped to be able to cope when things go wrong, because you will hit challenges, you will hit obstacles, and you will come into conflict, and that's a completely normal part of growth. but you will feel as though those aren't things to avoid, that they're actually part of the journey. So the new way of working with me would be a way that you check in every day, that you just do a little bit of work every day just to check in with your partner, for you to actually really connect in a deep way, and for me to be there to guide you every step of the way. It's a really exciting ongoing process, which means that you're looked after by me every day, every step of the way in your relationship. But it's not that you don't have that independence and autonomy to be there in your relationship together on your own. You're just getting some guidance from me to help you along your way. If you'd like to know more, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I'd love to give you some more details about that. You can get in touch with me by messaging me on my Facebook page, so you can send me a personal message there. You can come to my website, which is www.crystalwoodbridge.com. That's Krystal woodbridge.com. You can fill out a contact form or email me from my website, and I just really look forward to hearing from you. So until then, take care, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.